guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carin and I am so excited to have you guys here with me today because this video is one that has been like a year and a half in the making. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I made a frame for our Samsung Frame TV. Obviously this isn't sponsored. I am not a girl that likes to go to the electronics store like at all. I'm like the Grinch when he says loathe entirely. Like I will make up every excuse why I don't need to walk in there with him. But when it came to this TV, like I went by myself, guys. This is how badly I wanted it. I had seen them all over social media for years and it was a bucket list thing for me when we moved into this house. So anyhow, those TVs are definitely an investment. And so buying the frame for them is just as much of an investment. They are not cheap. And honestly, there weren't a ton of options anyways. And since I love to DIY things, this seemed like another great opportunity to try to build it on my own. So yesterday was when I actually constructed it and I took video throughout the process, and I will do voiceover to sort of walk you through what I ended up doing. But guys, I'm so excited about how it turned out. Even my husband was pretty impressed with it. So enough of my jabbering, let's get to the footage. When I began to prepare for this project, I watched tons of YouTube tutorials and read numerous blogs to see all the different ways that people were making their frames. Some could be done in as little as 15 minutes and others were far more complex. I will say that mine definitely falls more on the complex side, not necessarily because it was hard, but because there were numerous steps that I did take to get to the final product. For the main frame, I went with an MDF door casing material, nothing fancy, just a regular old 2¼ inch door casing. I wanted to keep the profile of the frame pretty simple, although I did end up adding a little bit of embellishment towards the end. When I measured the TV, I measured the actual screen itself. So the frame TV has a very thin frame around it, so I wanted to make sure that that thin black frame would be covered by the one that I make. I made all of my cuts at a 90-degree angle, making sure to take all the measurements from the bottom corner of the molding, so that it would frame the screen nicely. To assemble the frame, I first used wood glue to put the molding pieces together, and then used 90-degree angle clamps that I found for $3.99 a piece at Harbor Freight to hold them together while they dried. Since I did this part outside and it was a hot summer day, the drying time definitely sped up. I did struggle a bit with these clamps and I'm not quite sure why. There did end up being a small bit of a gap in a couple of the joints, but it was nothing that couldn't be filled later on. When designing the frame, I knew that I wanted it to have a chunky look to it, so that when you looked at it from the sides, it would really look like a custom frame and not just like there was molding sitting on top of the TV. I created this look by using 1-inch dowels on the back side of the frame. Once all of the dowel pieces were measured, I glued them down with the wood glue as well, and then once that was dry, I flip it over and put nails all around using my brad nailer for added stability. For good measure, I went ahead and added these flat L brackets into each of the four corners just below the dowels. I figure they may not be entirely necessary, but they certainly can't hurt either. Since it was an excruciatingly hot summer day, I ended up bringing the frame inside for the next step, which was patching the nail holes and joints that needed it with joint compound as best I could. Once the joint compound was set, I take it back outside and give it a good sanding. Don't be alarmed by the discoloration that the sandpaper is causing on the frame. I promise it won't matter in the long run. I found these little decorative pieces at Hobby Lobby. They came in a bag of 4 for $1.99. They were down the aisle with the decorative wood pieces, but they seem more like a thin metal to me. Anyhow, like I mentioned before, I wanted to keep the frame fairly simple, but I thought that these would add just a nice little touch of elegance to the corners. I attached them with Gorilla Glue and let it set and dry for about an hour before heading back outside to begin the painting process. So this next step is one that I saw when watching the YouTube channel MaCenna, and I'll link it down below, her specific video. Her videos are such a great source of inspiration to me, like across the board. So I knew that I wasn't crazy about the idea of using Velcro strips to attach the frame to the TV. So when I saw that she used rubber straps to help hold the frame in place to the back of the TV and prevent it from falling forward, I knew that was what I wanted to try. So I got the straps from Harbor Freight. They came in a pack of, I want to say 6. I think I paid just under $10 for it, and I only need 2 for this project, but I figure my husband will find a use for the other 4. They were really easy to cut to size and drill the holes through, so that was a plus. You don't want to leave much slack, so just make sure that you pull them tight as you can, but without putting too much tension on it, if that makes sense. So I'm back outside now to give the entire frame a good coat of semi-gloss black paint. This will act as a good dark base to put the gold leaf rub and buff on top. It'll give it that pretty antique gold look. So last but certainly not least, I am adding Rub and Buff in gold leaf to the entire frame. Now, if you'll believe it, I didn't even know Rub and Buff even existed until late last year. How that's even possible with my love for interior design and DIY projects, I will never know. But now that I do know, I love to use it on anything that I want an antique gold finish on. I love that it's buildable and it has such a smooth finish when you're all done applying it. The brush that I'm using on this project is one of my girls' old makeup brushes. I found these to be some of the best brushes to use for the application. It doesn't build up on the bristles like it does on a paintbrush, and it glides on super easily. Okay guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this week's video. I am so excited about how the frame turned out for the television. Now I did want to add a little bit of a caveat. I have seen where some people needed to drill a very small hole in order for the sensor to work. We ended up not having to do that at all. You know, when I was dry fitting the frame before I did the finish, the paint and the rub and buff, I, set it up there and tried the remote. I even went into like the kitchen and pressed the remote, and we had no issue at all. So that may be something that you need to do when you go ahead and do yours, especially if you're doing a TV that's not an actual frame TV, where that sensor is extremely important that it is uncovered. Like if I go ahead and make one for our bedroom television, I will definitely have to drill a tiny hole where that sensor is. But I figured some people may ask, and so I thought I would just throw that out there, that we did not have to drill the hole right there where the sensor is, and we haven't had an issue. So anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. I will see y'all in the next one. Please make sure to have a fun and safe 4th of July for all of you guys here in the US, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.